Hey, I'm Paul Butler. I'm one of the client partners over at New Leaf Training and Development, and I'm joined today by Paul Sedy, who is the Chief Information Officer at the Masters University here in Santa Clarita. And Paul, for the last 15 years at New Leaf, we've focused really on the core purpose of helping people and organizations better manage themselves, lead others, and grow business acumen. So I wondered, what are your recommended best practices to help people and organizations in those three areas? And please start though, Paul, by telling us a little bit more about your organization, what you do and who you serve. So over to you, Paul, and I'll wrap it up when you're done.
Thank you so much, Paul, for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity here to speak for a little bit. As you mentioned, my name's Paul Sedy. I'm the Chief Information Officer here at the Masters University. I've been in this current role for about 4 years and with the organization for 16 years now. We're a Christian liberal arts institution, and we're seeking to provide a biblically centered education for our students. And it's a joy to work here. We've had certainly our ups and downs, particularly over the last year or so, but glad to be with you. So a little bit of background there. That's quite a question you've asked. And there's those three major areas, which is managing yourself, leading others, and business acumen. So a couple of little things that have been helpful for me. As far as managing yourself, I've found that even though I'm a technologist by trade, I've actually found it to be more prudent to switch my planning over to an analog format. So believe it or not, I use the Full Focus Planner. It's a paper copy. I get one of these every quarter. And it's been very useful to reduce the amount of distractions and stay focused and actually revert back to more of that format. One of the key activities that I engage in is a weekly review. Every week, I try to hit that early Saturday morning, preview the week ahead, map that out on paper, looking for those primary goals and objectives, and then trying to execute on those. And so whenever I need to get my bearings, because I'm surrounded by the digital, whenever I need to get my bearings, I just have that planner open and with me at all times so that I can get back on focus, get back on track and hit that. So that's the first area that's been helpful for me in terms of managing myself. As far as leading others, I try to follow the example of Jesus, who said, even the Son of Man didn't come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. And I think you'd be hard pressed not to look too far and wide in terms of business literature these days and find that term servant leadership everywhere. So one of the exercises of that servant leadership for me is in how I treat my direct reports. And so one of the behaviors that I've inculcated in terms of our operations is to have a weekly O3 or one-on-one with each of those direct reports. So that's a scheduled, regular time opportunity for them to first bring their issues to me, and then I'll bring any of the management-related issues afterwards. I'll be taking notes, and then I use a lot of that paperwork at specific intervals to generate those performance reviews. This builds trust, and we know that trust is so linked to results in terms of trying to be effective as an organization. So that's been a helpful practice in terms of leading others and doing my best to follow the amazing example that Jesus put out for us. The last item that you mentioned was business acumen. As I moved into this role, I moved basically from a technology role into more of a management and people role. The technology at times behaves much better sometimes than the people do. So there's a lot to learn in terms of how I can best serve the folks around me. But as far as gaining business acumen, I found that the simple answer for me has been to read good books. And one of the books that was really helpful early on was a book called Love is the Killer App by Tim Sanders. And it wasn't so much the book itself, but it was the method or advocating of methodology towards how to approach books. And so one thing that I took away from that is, number one, it's not so much the breadth, but the quality of the books to focus on. And so my goal is to find a good book, to digest it, internalize it, and then see it actuated in terms of how I conduct myself insofar as my role. A couple of other helpful hints that he gave in that book that I found might be useful for others is, this is one of my favorites here, which is The Effective Executive. And Tim commended really writing your own notes just like this on the front leaf. And really that's your method of internalizing it here. You'd have your page number references. And then on the back leaf of the book, you find your exact quotes that you really have liked or appreciated from the author. And then those are very easy to take away and to implement into a presentation. In addition to that, as you go on and read other books, you may forget some of your contents. It becomes wonderful to go back and read your notes and sort of reacclimate with the contents of that book. So those are three basic areas that I've found have been just some practices that have been helpful to address those areas of really managing yourself, leading others, and then developing that business acumen. So I hope that those things are helpful, Paul.
Well, Paul, on behalf of everyone who watches these, thanks so much for your insights. And I really love your very clear, pragmatic approach to help people and organizations. Again, I love that better management of self, because we manage ourselves, leading others. And I love your reference to trust, isn't it? Because trust is the glue that bonds humans together. And then growing business acumen. So again, thank you so much for your time, Paul. Thank you so much for the work that you do over at Masters, an institution that I'm immensely fond of, as you know. And could I offer you a virtual high five?
Absolutely.
Paul, thanks ever so much.
It's been a pleasure, Paul.